Good evening, friends, and welcome to the 341st episode of Gyan Pravah, the podcast series, which has been the brainchild of our president, Dr. Sunita Tandulwadkar. Gyan Pravah, as you would know, is the flow of knowledge. And this knowledge has started flowing right from 31st of January 2025, when Madam Sunita Tandulwadkar took over as president, and we 30 chairpersons come out with different podcasts. Myself, Dr. Sita Ramamurthy Pal, the chairperson of the Genetics and Fetal Medicine Committee, have been coming, and this is my final podcast on the 4th of every month in the field of fetal medicine and genetics, bringing you stalwarts, legendaries, experts who have worked and who have contributed so much to this subject and the field of fetal medicine and genetics. Today, my guest speaker is none other than Dr. Anuradha Lohia, who is the chairperson of the Manovikas Kendra Indian Institute, and she's basically a molecular biologist. And we're going to be talking about neurodevelopmental screening, the role of my gynecologist and obstetrician. And before we start and before I introduce Dr. Anuradha, I would like to welcome and invite our dear president, Dr. Sunita Tandulwadkar, to this podcast. What can I say about her? I mean, she is a bundle full of knowledge, energy, enthusiasm, her dedication to Fogsi, every project that she does, and her attention to detail with everything that she does is really exemplary. Starting from the year when the month that she took over as the president of Fogsi, we've had a multitude of projects across the entire year and across the country, touching each and every Fogsian and woman together. We have started off. We have started this off with a spiritual journey of Arogya Yoga Yatra, where spirituality combines with science, and then the academic projects like Do Tike Zindagi Ke and the cervical cancer elimination program and this Gyan Pravah podcast series. Also, simultaneously, there have been projects about thalassemia awareness, the Mukta projects, the elimination of thalassemia, and the other Know Your Numbers projects, where we are collecting data across the country as to what the patient or what the woman of our India needs to know about herself. And this has been a complete experience, as we call it. And this is the highlight of our Sampurna project, which Madam heads. And this is just the beginning, I would say, because we have a lot to look forward to. And thank you, Madam, for giving us the opportunity, the insight, and for inspiring us and guiding us always. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome you for your words.
Thank you, Sita. Your kind words of appreciation means a lot. I love you all. And Anuradha ji, welcome to a Fogsi platform. When she told me about you and when I met you in Calcutta, it was such a pleasure to meet you because you are doing amazing work. And I think this podcast will be, like Sita has kept best, last the best. Every podcast of her on fetal medicine. So my 30 chairperson have chosen 30 different themes. Someone does only on academic, someone does on any social, political, philosophical, so many other. And it was more than that. It was pleasure. As she says, I met 341 faculty. It's not a joke. Daily 8 p.m. people feel that 341 days I'm joining, but more than them, I'm looking forward for 8 p.m. because I meet one of the fantastic faculty and I evolve. So our protocol is you and Sita will be completely on the forefront and I'll be joining the viewers link. Sita, you are amazing. I know you don't want to climb up the Fogsi ladder and this is not the platform to talk about, but I definitely feel you have the quality to lead the organization. You should think differently because acceptance is the first part which comes after rejection. So today you may be in a mode of rejection, Start climbing, start visualizing, because the organization needs the visionaries. You are one of the dedicated visionary, very passionate, and most importantly is dependable. Sita, that is important. From your private practice, taking out time, working for the organization needs a passion and a love to work as a leader. And you have that. So I'm sure we all are looking forward that Calcutta can give many more Foxy presidents. Thank you so much. And I
Thank
will
you. I would like to acknowledge and put on note here. Thank you for your inspiring words, but thank you for being here on my first and my last podcast of the year. And every time, Madam makes it a point wherever she is from the flight or from the operation theater or even the car, she's always there to encourage us. So thank you so much for all that you're
thank
doing for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sitaji, and looking forward to see you in person, Anuradhaji, in February.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as we move on to our podcast today, we are going to be talking about neurodevelopment from womb to mind. As you know, the neurodevelopment actually doesn't begin at or after birth. It actually begins in pregnancy. The foundation of how a child thinks, learns, and interacts with the world outside actually starts in pregnancy. And this is what we're going to explore today, because not by the gynecologist who can pick up these telltale signs or the signals that a woman has in pregnancy and then apply them so that the woman, the society, the family, everybody is prepared as what to expect. And so to discuss this today, I have my very esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Anuradha Lohia, who has taken her time out. And thank you once again, madam, for joining the podcast.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Madam is right now she's a molecular microbiologist, and she has done her BSc, MSc, University of Calcutta, and PhD in the Indian Institute from the Indian Institute of Chemical Biology, and her thesis title was Studies on the Cell Surface of Vibrio cholera. Madam has made seminal discoveries to understand the atypical cell division cycle and the lack of regulation in the human parasitic pathogen Entamoeba histolytica. She has diversified from her strength as a research scientist to serve as the first CEO of the Wellcome Trust. In fact, she's contributed extensively and significantly to the educational governance by serving as the Vice Chancellor of the Presidency Universities, which is a very prestigious and oldest institution of our city and the country for higher education in India. Madam has also raised funds from private benefactors, including the Infosys Foundation, to expand the academic building and establish chairs for teaching and research in this institution. Going on further, in 1999, Dr. Lohia has set up research facilities for studying neurodevelopmental disorders in children with intellectual disability and for social awareness of this condition among children for such disorders at Manovikas Kendra. And right now, Madam is the chairperson of this Institute of Manovikas Kendra. Currently, her research group is studying biochemical, genetic, and other molecular factors that affect the neurodevelopment in children, and that is what we're going to be talking about today as well. Madam has many awards and accolades to her credit, and she's also been among her academic career. She's also been the adjunct faculty for the Center of DNA Fingerprinting and Diagnostics, Hyderabad, India. Madam has trained many qualified researchers, 4 postdoctoral fellows, and published many books, 50 book chapters with 2 patents in peer-reviewed publications, and also has given talks in national and international forum. So thank you once again, Madam, for joining us, and we're really indeed honored to have you as our guest speaker today.
It's my pleasure and a rare honor for me to be able to share my thoughts with such an esteemed forum. And while we work towards making things better for human existence, we work from very different angles. So it is a rare meeting for a molecular biologist to talk to a forum where there are gynecologists and obstetricians. And I've long felt the gap where we have not communicated or shared our challenges
Absolutely.
between the two disciplines. So this is a very rare opportunity. I'm very grateful that I'm here. I
Actually, I
can't
must
make
say the
it.
minute I heard you on the other day, and I was like, this is whom I want for my podcast, because as you rightly said, the gap is there, the gap exists, and we cannot work individually. We have to work together in tandem, and with molecular biology, with genomics, with genetics, infiltrating every part of the system
Exactly.
of our of our body. I think it's we cannot get away from the fact that we have to work in unison. So thank you once again, madam, for being there. So when we start about our podcast about neurodevelopmental screening from womb to mind, why is this being viewed as something that begins in the womb rather than after birth?
So
Your
as
thoughts
we
on
all
that?
know, neurodevelopment begins in early embryogenesis, around the third week of the pregnancy, with neural tube formation being the first event. This is followed sequentially with neurogenesis, neuronal migration, axonal pathfinding, synaptogenesis, and early myelination, most of which occurs prenatally. Now, studies which have been done in certain places using fetal imaging or neuropathology and developmental neuroscience, these have demonstrated that disruptions during these stages can alter cortical organization and connectivity.
Absolutely.
Importantly, many of these circuits are important for cognition, attention, and social processing. This is established before birth, the patterns for these. So we come to, like I said that day, even in your conference, where your work ends, mine begins. So when children with developmental disorders come to us, the changes have happened.
Opened, yes.
But if we could have had access or knowledge of what could have happened during the first 3 weeks, there is a lot more that we would understand and treat it differently. So we need to establish these trajectories postnatally rather than beginning after birth. So if
Right.
we had a continuity from
Yes.
the early womb
Right.
formation,
Yeah.
there would be a lot of advantage.
So absolutely right, madam. So what, as fetal medicine, what we do is we scan women in pregnancy early in the first trimester and the second and the third trimester, and we are typically sort of told, or we sort of know, and even we counsel the parents that the spinal bifida, the spinal cord defects, which are open, the obvious defects which can be picked up in early first trimester or later. But these neurodevelopmental disorders, because the myelin, it's an evolving process through pregnancy, and it goes even beyond birth. So we cannot actually predict their sort of onset or anything. So how do you think we gynecologists are placed or uniquely positioned to do this neurodevelopmental screening?
So what you're asking is, I have a lot of points about that, but let's begin with the last sentence. Why are gynecologists uniquely positioned? So we need you to initiate neurodevelopmental screening because you oversee the intrauterine environment during periods of maximal brain plasticity and also vulnerability. Now, you also see the maternal metabolic status, inflammation, placental function, and the hormonal balance. Now, these parameters are routinely monitored in your obstetrics, and these directly influence fetal brain development through mechanisms such as hypoxia, altered oxygenation, cytokine exposure,
Yeah,
nutrient transport. So these factors act before clinical symptoms are observable. We always act on symptoms, but
right.
you can have prior data
Yeah,
that maybe there's no certainty, but it
absolutely.
could lead to a symptom you'll see later. So it's always good, and I don't think it is a routine practice in our country to do this prenatal screening at every trimester. But if we could think about how to implement it, you are the people who will have to take the sort of torch and start changing the policy or implementing it so that screening starts early. Now, sometimes I know you do screening for where there is a suspicion, where there is a history of genetic abnormality, or
Yeah,
there is a sort of
previous babies.
predict some kind of risk. But often we don't know, everything seems normal. But
True.
if we could initiate, so therefore, you as obstetricians and gynecologists are uniquely positioned because the first form of life comes to you.
Yeah. And the patients develop a bond with the obstetrician gynecologist over the night.
Yes,
So they that
yes.
the trust, the faith that they bestow upon their gynecologist. So that's
It's
very
always the doctor. You see, we are scientists, we are geneticists, we can be counselors. The ordinary patient doesn't know who we are or doesn't understand our importance. And they're always suspicious. But the doctor they believe in. The doctor is closest to God. So
yes.
you see, there is something where we would use your help to help these people later. So that is why you're very uniquely positioned.
Thank you. Thank you. So, how do you think, in terms of routine antenatal care, and how do we incorporate, you think, this risk assessment in our antenatal care? Because I would also like to tell you, madam, that this podcast is not only viewed by obstetricians and gynecologists, it will be on the YouTube. So it will be seen by the non-medicos as well.
Sure.
So, so in that respect, we are, it's
Yeah,
obviously
people like me.
a lot
No,
more.
no, others also who are interested in it.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
already do routine antenatal assessments like screening for anemia, thyroid dysfunction rather, diabetes, infections, fetal growth restriction,
Yeah.
and placental insufficiency, and others. Now, many of these overlap directly with known neurodevelopmental disorders or risk factors. For example, if you have hypothyroxanemia, this will affect neuronal migration. So, nerve cell migration from intrauterine growth restriction. So thyroid hormone would implement all that. The moment you see such a dangerous level of or lower level of hypothyroidism, I would want that you go for the other tests as well, which may not be routinely required.
True.
Then we also know that intrauterine growth restriction will alter the cortical thickness and connectivity. Then comes, of course, the chronic thing, which is now people have a better understanding of constant inflammation. So,
True.
maternal inflammation will it will influence the microglial activation of the fetus. So, then again, inflammatory factors. So, like you're screening for anemia, thyroid, and diabetes, etc., we would like to screen for inflammation. I'm sure you people do in sensitive cases, but somewhere we need to have a conversation where it can become more general. Because
Hmm.
we can't, as our awareness and education grows and knowledge grows, it can just happen to anyone. And now with the rising pollution and environmental factors, all these things influence even a perfectly
Normal, super.
normal, without any disorder genetic background. So the epigenetics, which we can talk about later, comes in and makes it very, very difficult for either the doctor or the scientist to think about it if we don't have tests, if we don't have diagnosis or risk factors. When you will say that, although everything seems fine, but I'm troubled by her inflammatory markers, or I'm troubled by her constantly after supplementation, also, we see the thyroid levels are not going up. So, these are things where we start talking. Maybe nothing happens, the delivery is perfectly normal, the child develops into the first few milestones in the first year, and then we start seeing changes or delays. So that time I would like to go back to the history of the antenatal period to correlate to strengthen my diagnosis,
Absolutely.
to strengthen what kind of therapy to give. And we can always later find out the exact chromosomal abnormality. Now there are so many tools available. But if I know there is a risk factor involved, we will not do simply a psychometric test or simply a social behavior test to diagnose and treat these children. We will have we still do genetic tests, but I want to be more accurate. I want to be more precise, knowing the history starting from
And that's
first
a
womb form.
very important role, yes. So, as you said, right, as of now, we are seeing so many women coming that they've had previous children with autism, and they want to know what we can do with these children, because although autism is a very broad spectrum of a neurodevelopmental disorder, we can't really pinpoint, and that is something we still lack in our counseling or in our investigations. So,
So
what?
I would actually not want you to counsel only for autism,
No, no,
because
I'm
in
just
our
yeah,
center
yeah.
we see a whole range of neurodevelopmental disorders. And so we see idiopathic intellectual disability, where you can't fit it into autism or ADHD or Downs or known syndromes. Okay. So now more and more new ones are coming. So we were speaking to some neurosurgeons, and they are seeing things which were not seen earlier, and knowing that this child goes into neurodevelopmental so. So I would like to encourage all gynecologists to think not just of autism, but be careful. There are, for example, a child came in the other day. The mother took her everywhere, and somebody said autism, somebody said something. When she came to us, we realized she has some autistic traits, but basically she has intellectual disability with a low IQ.
Mm.
Now, because they see the autistic trait, they would like to club them in
Label.
the spectrum.
Yeah.
But then the treatment is not right, because you can have hyper-functioning autism. You can, like in Asperger's, where the child is very, very intelligent. So every child has to be treated differently. No one size fits all. So when you do start seeing all these, and of course your work continues when the mother will come back, the development, although she goes to a pediatrician might refer to you that did you see anything in the antenatal screening?
Mm.
You are uniquely positioned to start this journey of the child from the moment of conception to the end of life, literally, the
Literally.
quality of life.
Because a lot of that we see, even in terms of diseases for the mother, gets transmitted to the fetus, and they
Yes,
tend to develop it later in life as well. So
much
it's a
later. Yeah.
continuing process. And as you said, like every headache is labeled as migraine, every neurodevelopmental disorder can also be labeled as autistic, but it's
No,
a
we
lot
can tell
more
you
to it.
so many ones that come to us, and we're getting better at diagnosing and identifying them, because now we know each chromosomal area where these could develop from. For example, Edward syndrome would be in trisomy of chromosome 13. Trisomy was only known for Down syndrome earlier,
Yeah.
of 21. Now there's trisomy of chromosome 13, chromosome 18, which give differently. Many of these children don't survive after infancy. However, why is the child not surviving? The parent is clueless. The
Yeah.
parent will first of all blame themselves.
Yeah.
What happened? What did I do wrong? So to explain to the parent that this is physiology or biology, you did nothing wrong. This starts with you, because again the parent trusts you
Back
much.
to us for the next
The
pregnancy.
And then when you tell the parent that, yes, please now go to this counselor who's going to tell you the genetic background, we come into the picture. The parent will, you will tell the parent, they will give you the right therapy, and that will help your child to live as far as possible normal life.
Right. So, Dr. Anuradha, what do you think are the current tools or screening tools or markers that you would say are available for us to pick up or flag off these, developmental risks? You did mention a bit about thyroid, and is there anything else that?
Yeah, I think in the first trimester, they must be doing this neurobuccal
Yeah,
screening.
yeah, we do that. Yeah.
The accumulation of fluid will
Yes, yes,
suggest that there could be chromosomal abnormality. Then you do fetal anomaly scans. You also do neurosonography.
yes, yes.
Now, ultrasonograph or Doppler studies assessing placental and cerebral blood flow. So that cerebral blood flow becomes literally very, very
Especially in these, we tend to, as we sort of highlight in cases of growth restriction babies, a lot of them, when they are born as
yes,
cerebral palsy, it's because,
there's
they're
not
not
enough
actually
space.
picked up. They're not actually picked up that they've had an hypoxic environment,
Yes.
they've grown, they were growth restricted, and we tend to, miss them and say it was just a normally growing baby, and ultimately they have problems and they don't realize this was actually during the pregnancy
So we
as well.
really, really suggest that you do this NIPT, which is non-invasive prenatal screening. And of course, you must be doing for infectious diseases like Toxoplasma,
Yes, yes.
rubella, cytomegalovirus. These can be easily done now. We can do chromosomal microarrays very easily now.
Yeah.
All we need is about 1 ml of blood. And then we can do the end. So what used to be done still is done as karyotyping, so where you do the entire chromosomal spread. We can have much faster and more accurate, or let's say not accurate in that sense, but more microscopic way of figuring out which genetic area which area in the chromosome is affected. We can sequence that area. So we do chromosomal microarrays, and there are different platforms which can
Yeah.
screen for different diseases. So these are things which have come up for which we would like that it should be started early on in
Earlier on the pregnancy.
process, and they will identify the biological environment which is associated with altered neurodevelopment. So we become partners in it, that, somehow the mindset has to open up to thinking that, whatever you have been taught and you're doing routinely, to that you please add on an element of screening for neurodevelopmental disorders.
Right. So, if you think the risk is there and if it's identified, can we do any correct, can we take any corrective measures? It is possible. I mean, a lot of it sometimes we only say this is there, but we don't know whether it will be treated because a lot depends on when the baby is born and how the baby's neurofunction starts after birth. So, do you think anything can be done realistically if
That
we,
is a much later question to be answered, because I honestly don't know but I know that in the West, they do a lot of corrective surgery in utero. So
yeah,
that is something which is where and you can actually alter. And there are so many techniques now, whether it's CRISPR or gene
yeah,
therapy or
absolutely.
even specialized forms of surgery, all this can be done. But first, we have to know. So we in India, I would like this thing to happen, that we can actually screen. And for I know it's very expensive. So somehow, I don't know how we bring down the costs. If the volume is more. For example, if I send one sample for chromosomal microarray, it will cost me some 30,000 rupees. But if I give about 24, and I can't do it for less than 30,000,
Because
less than
that
30
takes that
samples
much,
at a
yeah,
time. Otherwise, the cost is even much more. It
much
becomes a
time.
lakh. So if it becomes routine and the number of samples increases, the cost comes down.
Automatically
And
comes.
better techniques will develop. Whenever we've done our research, we have found that as we did more and more of the techniques evolved. The manufacturers of the instruments, they make it more
Better.
user-friendly and cheaper.
Yeah.
So this is something which chicken and egg story, but we have to start doing it. We have to bite the bullet. We have to incur the extra cost. We have to find support for that. And of course, there are many ways of doing it. But the first understanding that we have to do.
Have to do it. Absolutely.
Then correction comes at a later stage.
No, true. Like for that matter, even NIPT, though it like it when started off, it was prohibitively expensive. But then as people realized what it is, its importance, and then of course we still say we have to use it judiciously and not randomly.
No, no, you
But
cannot.
even then, the cost has come down. So when you
Yes.
talk about, and I again looking at the cost, I would like to say that it's all in the mindset, isn't it? A
Of
couple.
course.
The family doesn't mind spending so much for a movie, with cinema hall, that much. When it comes to healthcare and in fact comes to somehow that is a bit, they're a bit
It's a
hesitant.
block. It's a blockage.
It's a blockage.
And why should it cost so much? When I was in such and such state, it was less. So that, of course, is our mindset, and it has to come down. But here is where I think, as gynecologists and obstetricians, a certain amount of counseling, that yes, this will be expensive, but right now it seems expensive to you to spend
A
20,000 rupees.
long
However, you're ensuring your child's future. I think at one time this great fashion of doing cord blood
yeah.
storage started.
It's
And
still
everyone was doing it. Everyone was imagining that, their child will need some stem cells at some time. That time they did not, because it was a certain amount of money that they could dole out. Without thinking, they were doing it. This is something when you have evidence. We are talking of an evidence-based screening which leads to evidence, which will lead to treatment. So we have to put our heads together and think about how to get it implemented. We will need governmental support. We'll need policy changes. So these things will happen when we work together.
absolutely. Currently, you ask, I mean, the main bottom line is to work together, but currently, what do you think are the gaps? Why are this, the gaps existing in the transition that we have from antenatal to postnatal care, and how do you propose, or how do we improve this collaboration between coordination between pediatricians, neurologists, or
I
developmental?
think if we listen to each other, you people were very patient and you listened to me in Fogsi, in your Bogscon. So I think more and more interaction between different disciplines which are actually converging on the same maternal and child healthcare. And this, we should involve pediatricians with us. because we are all radiating from the same place. But you are the primary source. You start, and we are the add-ons. So then we bring in our strengths. And I think these gaps, it'll take time, but we can begin.
Yes. I also want you to talk about Manovikas Kendra, madam, about what the institute has been and how you have led it from the front and what do we
So
do?
the institute was started by my mother, who 50 years ago. She is a child psychologist, and even 50 years ago, or maybe 60 years ago, she understood that children who were rejected from society, who could not be taught according to routine
Standard.
methods. The
Hmm.
parents would say, "नहीं ये पागल है या चंचल है," or something like that. She said, "No, no, they just need a specific training."
Yes.
And she did a PhD in education for the special child way back in 1960. And at that time, when she did it, the idea was unknown. Even in
Hmm.
her relatives, she would get rejected for her ideas. But she got an opening in a Montessori school, and she showed that about very sizable section of the children needed special education, whether it was for dyslexia or for slow learning or for intellectual disability. Autism was not known, and it was Downs. So these were the different ones. So she started Manovikas Kendra as a center for education. When I joined the governing board in 1999, I come from the background of being a molecular biologist. So I realized that we can't just keep on giving them education. That's not the goal. We would also like to understand why it has happened, because then it is not about education. I knew that we could give different forms of therapy to them, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy, and all these, just like epigenetic changes make problems, similarly, this kind of environmental change, which almost works like imprinting on the mind, changes these kind of therapies. So to bring all that in, I started the research center. So in 1999, we started the Biomedical Research Center. We started with genomics, whole scale genomics, PCR, quantitative RT-PCR, and all these things. So we had risk alleles that we had identified. We worked with at what was the knowledge at that time to do SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms and mutations in these risk alleles, both in the exonic region and in the intronic region. Now we are focusing on working on the neurotransmitter pathways, because we see that the changes in neurotransmitter levels control the mood swings, aggression, violence in these children. It controls their focus and their learning, their pleasure. So dopamine, serotonin, GABA, glutamate. So we are focusing on these four pathways now. And what we are doing is we are looking at the risk alleles associated with these pathways. And we have a huge array now of risk factors that we have identified. So these are screenings we can easily do. And well, easily means now we can do
Yeah. But
easily.
nevertheless, we can do now.
This
Yes.
we are doing. We are developing, we've just completed a pilot project, which I hope to take to the next level now with funding. We are using artificial intelligence to correctly diagnose in a much more precise way the psychometric analysis. As you know, in autism, we use an international standard called CARS, Childhood Autism Rating Scale, and we use, of course, DSM-5, which is all internationally recognized. Now, the CARS score will not give you individual. You do the individual scoring for each parameter, but you, at the end of the diagnosis, the psychiatrist will tell you you have a high score for CARS, because she has summed up the
Totally.
scores for the different parameters. And this is the norm worldwide, where they say highly autistic, very high autism, or mild or moderate, whatever. We have used artificial intelligence to figure out endophenotypes. What we have also done is now generated behavioral barcodes for each of the children. So as you know, autism is a spectrum. Now in this spectrum, we are able to identify the behavioral barcode for each patient.
Wow.
When
That's
you do that, you give the correct therapy and the medication.
targeted therapy to that individual.
We also do a screening of CYP2D6. This is the liver enzyme which metabolizes all the antipsychotic drugs. So like methylphenidate and atomifexin. So for this, what we do a genetic test, just a genomic test, to see if the CYP2D6 gene is mutated, to make it either an ultra metabolizer or a very poor metabolizer, so that the dosage of the methylphenidate or atomifexin can be fixed according to the circulation in the blood. क्योंकि अगर if the patient is an ultra metabolizer, you are probably giving him a very low dose. It is getting turned around. And if he's a slow or a poor metabolizer, then there is accumulation of the drug in the bloodstream and you're causing side effects. So we do this kind of genetic tests, we do genomic tests, we do risk pattern analysis. So currently we are focusing more. We are also doing things with oxidative stress. So we are working on the superoxide dismutase gene because as I was talking of inflammation, so oxidative stress becomes extremely important to understand. And for all of these, we are designing, we use neurofeedback therapy, for example, for a lot of anxiety. So all these patients who come in with either anxiety or nervousness or fear, we are using that. For dosing, we use a genetic test to ensure our psychiatrist then prescribes the exact dosage. And we monitor them over time. So they have to come back to us periodically to check if the drug is suiting them or not. Because these are small children. You're not able, you don't want to overdose them or underdose them. Currently, these are the pathways. We are also now going to approach the gut microbiome because as you're aware that the gut microbiome is different in the ASD children. We would like to actually see familial genomics now. So we are approaching parents with
Of
a
ASD.
child with neurodevelopmental disorder and a sibling who is neurotypical. And if they're all eating the same food,
Why is there one different?
so we would like to see the bacterial flora of the child. So if we can just, give them prebiotic support or probiotic support and see if there is a difference. I don't know if you read that story, but several years ago it came out. There was this mother in the US whose child had to be given antibiotics, as an infant had to be given antibiotics for 1.5 years, and after which she found that he had developed autistic traits. So basically, his gut flora had been wiped clean. And so antibiotics had finished it, and nobody could diagnose that why suddenly a child with
Correlate.
normal developmental markers, why was he behaving autistically? So the gut microbiome plays a huge role because as you know, serotonin and all these neurotransmitters are synthesized in the intestine. So the gut flora has a big role. So this is the third project that we have started now to do gut microbiome. We would also like to do stem cell therapy, and that is in collaboration with Dr. Sunita because we do have the ability and the lab facilities to do stem cell therapy. But we would like to work with doctors.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, what you talked about the gut flora, it isn't, and can the same thing be extrapolated to the adults as well, isn't it? I
Oh, yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. We have seen the same markers in adults for depression,
mhm.
anxiety, aggressive behavior. It's all controlled by dopamine and serotonin. And GABA and glutamate are excitatory and inhibitory hormones which act when. So all of them, there are 200 neurotransmitters. I've focused on the four big ones, which have anyway a complex relationship with each other. And these are easily measured. So
Measurable.
we look at the plasma and the blood. We take peripheral blood from the patient. We look at these markers, and the peripheral blood levels are mirroring actually what's happening in the brain. We can't take stuff from the brain, so we do it from the peripheral blood. So we're doing a lot of this work, and right now we are really excited about our artificial intelligence diagnostic because we saw how the diagnosis of 25 children just became much better.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we would like to use these, and during in the intrauterine period, if the mother is smoking or the mother is having alcohol, all those have effects. But now, who's not smoking in our polluted world? What is happening
Normal
to?
air is like smoking so
Yeah,
much.
it is like having 25 cigarettes a day. Now, you and I can't leave our cities and go somewhere else. We can't transplant ourselves. But if I know what is happening, I can deal with it better. What about the children who are being exposed, let's say, to what is happening in North India or wherever there are pockets of high pollution? Now, parents are not able to leave there. But if we know, so these are all of these, even if the child's genetics is perfectly normal, but
Epigenetics
these
is
are epigenetic changes which will happen. And then these changes get carried over to the next generation.
true.
So, what can we do to thwart it? I dare not say, can we reverse it? I dare not. But we will make attempts to at least control it, curtail it. I mean, I know I'm speaking a little more out of my desire than my knowledge right now, but that's what you also said. I mean, we want to do these things, but
Yeah.
first we need to know what's wrong,
Yes.
which is why I want to work with you.
Oh, I mean, that's been amazing listening to this part of it. I mean, there's so much we need to know and so much we can do because, and things are happening at such a rapid pace with all the environmental
Yeah.
changes affecting the microplastics and, as Dr. Sunita was saying, her stem cell therapy, and they all look at different things and and that has actually reversing, not rather slowing down the process of, whatever
There's another
damage.
test which you people, I'm sure you do it routinely and which gives us a lot of information. That's the extracellular DNA which is floating in the exosomes in the blood. So from there also we can figure out, for example, thyroid deficiency or those abnormalities from thyroid deficiency, just by screening even maternal blood.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
can sit down and, okay, let's find out what's not expensive, what's expensive, what gives us the maximum information. And there you have to tell us, we have to be in conversation with each other as to what we should be doing together.
Okay.
I think it will benefit parents hugely. And
Hugely.
if we can make it affordable, it should go into government hospitals.
Yes, I mean
Because
that's
rural and
uh,
urban healthcare are two different worlds, and
yeah,
my heart bleeds for the rural.
very true. And they are the people actually who need it the most because we are
Correct.
a privileged lot. We are, having in a protected environment. For them, it's the air they breathe. That's what they rely on. If that's something. Um, so as you said, I mean, we are facing and gynecologists are facing these challenges. How do we think we can improve that aspect of screening in these rural areas? Your opinion or ideas? Because we
So
need.
I would sit down on the across the table, and what I'm probably not aware of everything that you people do. So you bring us that this is what we do. We'll tell you that what can be screened and is not being screened, and some of it is difficult, some of it is easy. So we could incorporate and take it forward in a very in a very near future. We can at least start with a small bunch of us, a group that we can form, and then once the word spreads.
Yes, that's the
uh,
that is the other question I was going to ask is say about is spreading awareness, isn't it? Because right now I don't think the parents or the families they're not actually aware of the damage that things are going on and
We are trying a lot on the awareness front. We are doing social media, we are doing seminars, we are doing all that. Only when people are deeply affected will they come to us. But what we need is for the person who's not affected to know about it.
pick up the low risk, high risk from the low risk population. The high risk
Exactly.
anyway
And
comes
they
to
don't
us.
even know. And for example, I'll just digress a bit and tell you, it has been seen now that people who have autism in childhood are the ones most likely to have neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's later. It's also been shown that children with ADHD are more at risk to develop addiction at a later stage. Now, if people understood this, it's not just a small term when he's a child. How do we make our society healthy? By everyone being functional. So awareness now, I've been beating my head on the wall against the wall for awareness as you are as well in our own fields. But I think if we can start doing some things, even in a very small way, let's say 5 or 10 hospitals where interested gynecologists and genetic counselors can work together, the word will spread. And the publicity and awareness comes from the affected parent.
True.
The other problem is most parents are in denial. That
Yes,
there's
they don't want
something wrong with their child, they
don't
are
want
in denial. And
yes.
it's very hard for the mother. At
Yeah.
least in our society, I can see the trauma the mother goes through.
The guilt, the trauma, the
Guilt, the trauma, the blame on her, it's
the
heartbreaking.
lack of support as well. I mean, she has to come out and forthcoming like this is what it is. We should get together. Very few of them are like that.
Very few, very few.
Can
We
do it.
recently started a project where we are trying to use virtual reality as a therapy for a select bunch. It's a pilot project. We just started it. There were very few takers for it. because fear of the unknown rules. But the desire to make it known, there's more fear than desire. So again, I don't blame them. The
Yeah, it's
challenges they
the
face, and they
society.
still have to live their lives. They have to earn their bread. They have to take care of the rest of the family. So I understand. So we should be the bearers who will take care of their burden. And I'm telling you, we can try social media, we can try influencers, we can try many things, which is current. Ultimately, it is when there are success stories.
Hmm. Only then
Probably,
people
Achal, let me tell you the recent example. How many, there was no social media on Ozempic or Manjaro, right? But it worked on some celebrities or some people who said, oh my God. And then the doctors who had treated them said, look, we have taken care of this. It must have started with a whole, very small bunch of people. It's only a story last 3, 4 years, right?
yeah,
And now it's like wildfire. Now there is, did you
no
see? I didn't
stopping.
see much on social media on it. So awareness will come when you show success. And it's not about a high profile hospital or a government hospital. You know, in Calcutta Medical College, sometimes I see such remarkable surgeries happen which are reported in the Bengali media in a small way. But after that, I know jisko zarurat hai, they all make a beeline for it. So survival instinct, we should leave it at that for the people who need it.
Absolutely
I'm not
right.
against awareness. I'm just telling you
No,
where
I understand what we also having the same problem to get,
nahi
it's not
hoga. You
the,
just do it and let that person, sometimes all this comes out about the medical fraternity, solved this problem, did this, and that's what is effective.
because as you we are saying that we are trying to build awareness amongst our gynecologists as well, but then we say something, there are 10 other doctors waiting outside who are saying completely different.
Of course.
And it's so important that we all speak the same language, because if we are counseling that this needs to
No,
be.
we'll never speak the same language, but we should have forums for debate. We will have forums for discussion. And just go, whoever can understand the benefit of it will take it forward. We can't dictate people.
No,
We
when it
can't.
comes to counseling, I'm saying as doctors, if they hear
There
two
will
different
always be a
aspects.
varied opinion. Everyone knows about autism, but every psychiatrist gives a different opinion. But we have to live through that. Really, we can't control people.
No,
How,
that's.
and there is no one right answer.
Hmm.
Frankly, there is no one right absolute truth. So we, as a society, we push through with our different challenges. Then what gains population success, popular success, that advertises itself. This is what is my practical experience. I also started to do a lot of social media and all these things for it to reach the common person. Gone to schools, we have gone to parents. They take what they need. They will not listen.
Selective hearing sorts. Yes. Madam, you did mention about using AI. So how else do we think AI, because AI is like everywhere and is now
AI
coming.
is going to take over, and AI will take over in a very good way. I am not negative or doomsday about AI. We have to understand AI, and we have to understand its strength and make it do what we can't do.
Yeah, that is important. What we can't do.
So you are in charge. AI is not going to be in charge of you. And it's a fantastic tool. It's a magnificent and powerful tool.
Absolutely. Because we
So
are using AI in neuroimaging as well. Imaging
exactly,
coming up
exactly. And
along
for
with.
diagnosis, where
Yes.
AI is one of the most powerful tools. You see, AI has no subjectivity. It is doing machine learning. It is crunching data. So the more data you give it, the more likelihood of getting a right result. So
Hmm.
if you use AI and say from 10 people, and that is common knowledge, even you and I, from 10 cases, if we say this is what is right, we are wrong. It's always a population study. And for population study, which is very labor intensive and time consuming for us, AI can do a lot of things very fast.
And that is
I'm
how
not
we
at all frightened of AI. I am actually very hopeful that AI will be a very strong tool which will support us.
yes.
We have to know how to use it.
Yeah, correctly. Yeah, very true. And can you just elaborate about how you said you're using AI to screen these children for
No,
neurodevelopment?
but right now we have not started to screen these children
Okay.
with AI. We had a cohort of about 400 cases over the last few years. And we had the scores of all these cases, psychometric analysis. Now, our AI scientist took these scores and he put it through machine learning and he saw some patterns. Because one thing is
Different
that in
patterns.
autism, if you see, all the reports will tell you that there's a male bias, sorry. 70% males, even in our clinic, we see people who are coming in with autism, 70% are males, 30% are females. Two, three reasons. One, which we understood, that underreporting for females. And the second is females can mask the symptoms much better.
Okay.
You only pick up the female child as autistic when the symptom is very severe.
Yeah. Mm.
So there are various factors to it, but underreporting is also a factor. So we actually dissected all the different parameters to see from what data we had that is there a difference in any one or two or 14 parameters, male versus female? No, there wasn't such a thing. So the male female, we started with the male female bias, but then we realized the power of our tool that we could actually, for each of these patients, we could do precision diagnosis rather than an average diagnosis.
So
So which
that's
we have
powerful.
started, and I would like to, I mean, I'm starting to do free assessment camps starting this Saturday, 3rd of January, because we need to get a lot of numbers. For my AI to be robust, for my method to be having confidence, and for me to tell you, don't bother about anything, use this. For me, for that, I need at least 10,000 in numbers.
That's something very exciting and promising, I must
Yeah.
say.
So right now, like I'm constantly looking for sponsorship for free assessment camps. Many parents also can't pay and they think क्या करेंगे assessment करके problem तो है ही अब जो treatment होता है कर लो. So we also would like that no, we have to be knowledge driven, evidence driven, and give them precise diagnosis.
So, Madam, I mean, that was really something very different as well. But as we nearing the end of the podcast, what sort of advice you would give or message you would give to both the expecting parents first and the gynecologists, or some message that you would say as part of, as we did say about collaborating and working together, but one message to the expecting parents, the mother, the couple about neurodevelopment and the gynecologists as well.
Parents have faith in their doctors and keep that faith alive. Every parent will just do what the doctor tells them, unless there is, I mean, I'm not talking of the out of the bell curve. But the one message I'd like to share with you and for us that fetal brain development, it is an active, ongoing process throughout pregnancy. So it's not just the first trimester, right till the delivery. And therefore, and as you are well aware, maternal health, nutrition, emotional well-being, I mean, the power of emotion in imprinting on the child, trauma, mother's trauma, how it affects the child's brain development is now there's so many research papers on it. And exposure to toxins, whether it is environmental or whether it is infectious agents like viruses or bacteria or parasites. Pollution, of course, pollution is my very big fear, which is what we are submerged in. Microplastics, the food we eat. So we can't do everything, but my message to the gynecologists and obstetricians when you're looking after these mothers is to advise them on emotional well-being, on good nutrition, which you already do, and to take it seriously, to take medical care seriously. You know what happens. I mean, you will write down a lot of things, but how much of it actually gets done? So to make them understand the importance of it. With someone, a threat will work. With someone, a carrot will work. You know the techniques better. So you have to tell them that it's not for you that I'm worried, but it's for the future of your child, his learning, behavior, and resilience. And also to tell them, see, every parent wants their child to come first, whatever they do, right? How many actually succeed first? तो एक ही आएगा ना. How many do they succeed? But how many of them are healthy, holistic, well
Holistic is the word.
personalities?
Yeah.
So for them, the mother's health, how important it is, how she has to shield her child from trauma, and what she eats during pregnancy, how many antibiotics she takes. I mean, it's not what you are prescribing, it is what she's subjecting herself to, which leads to medical
Problem.
additives. So it's a very difficult and daunting task what you already do. You're asking me to tell you how to make it more daunting.
No, no. Also, I wanted to add that, as you said, it is in pregnancy, but the concept this year has also been to take it earlier to preconception, because, if they enter pregnancy in a healthy state,
If
as
we could do genetic screening before
oh,
pregnancy,
exactly, that was just
how much? So we had tried for last 25, 30 years. No, there's nothing wrong with me. Why should I come?
yeah,
It's not a social taboo.
yeah,
Thankfully, now many more people are acknowledging that they're suffering from depression and they're seeking clinical help.
yeah.
Earlier, why are you going to a psychiatrist? Are you mad? Is there something wrong with you? No, this is health. If you can go to a gynecologist when you're pregnant, why can't you go to a psychiatrist when you're depressed? So, how do you change society? Now, from a child to society, the whole burden is on your shoulders. Fine. We share this task. But yes, if we can start to bring in genetic counseling in in our regular language
Yes.
and genetic screening, not to screen out someone, but to do the screening to make him a better fit and to help him with it. There's so many things. You know, our Downs kids, they are so good.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
so responsive, so loving.
Yes,
No
full
one
of
thinks,
energy, full of height. I mean, they're
yes,
we had a program where we showcased all the success stories of these
yeah.
Down children, and they're doing so well in life if given the right direction and guidance. So it's amazing what potential they have otherwise.
We we re-employ some of our students who pass out. So we have a school program and they end with NIOS where they get a high secondary certificate and they study for that. Then we have an adult learning program where we train them for getting jobs. Many of these kids we have employed in Manovikas. One of them is the best marketing executive I've ever seen.
Wow.
I hired a marketing person to do something who is useless. Then I get this fellow who has no inhibition. He walks into the bank manager's office and says, I need this. The bank manager stands up and says, yes, yes, please sit down. These children have to be given their dignity and place in society. And
Yes.
we can do it together.
Yeah.
Social taboos, if we can, it starts with, of course, the parent, but you have
Family.
to help the parent.
Yeah, we
So
have
give
to.
them confidence, and we are all together in this game.
Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much for being with us today and a new insight into this neurodevelopmental screening. We are aware of it. We are doing our little bits, but I think more needs to be done. And collaboration is the word, is the key to moving forward. So thank you once again and very happy New Year
Oh,
to you.
and I look forward to this not being the first conversation that we've had, and let's have many more which we'll implement into
Just the
action.
beginning. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. This was a rare honor. I'm
Thank you.
truly, truly privileged to have this recording with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.